That's creative.
I am so excited to be here because this is my chance to share my truth and drop some knowledge in the process. So I hope you like what I have to say. The flow of it, everybody thinks invest, and you thought I was just going to come and talk numbers. No, I'm going to get with the real. Invest in yourself, okay? That's the first thing that I want to share with you. I want you to be beautiful, unapologetically. Be exactly who you are, because I saw this quote on Instagram last night because I was so excited I couldn't sleep. And so if it's on Instagram, you know it's true, right? I mean, it's just facts. It's life. But it said, believe it or not, there isn't a single person that you need in this life more than yourself. So put yourself first, right? Then we're going to talk about investing in community. And when you invest in community, it's not just the people in your neighborhood. It's not just the people that you work with. It's not just the people that look like you. Community is everybody here. And this is such a beautiful, diverse group. I definitely want to express that. And then lastly, I want to talk about entrepreneurship, because as creatives, entrepreneurship is a way that we make a livelihood for our creativeness, right? She's having to have a horrible time with taking pictures of me because all my pictures end up like this. So I warned her in advance. So when you see the pictures from afterwards, you're gonna be like, what was she saying? And I'm be like, I don't know. So I just want to tell you, just kind of set the picture of who I am and how I got here. So I came to Austin 8 years ago from Knoxville, Tennessee. I was working for a software company, and I was in, let me give you a Golden Girls reference. Picture it, Kansas City, circa, no, I'm just playing. That was my Sophia. But no, I was in Kansas City. It was the week of my 30th birthday. On my 30th birthday, typical single 30-year-old woman who's like, this is going to be the worst day ever, right? Because you're 30 and you're single. Get to the class, I'm training, and there was a lady in the class. It was her birthday too. They took us to lunch. We had a wonderful time. At lunch, they asked me about Knoxville, and I said, I have the best of both worlds. I travel 75% of the year. I'm going all over the United States, and I get to come home and hang out with my grandma. Like, it's the greatest thing ever. I'm going to stay in Knoxville. So if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plan. Afterwards, after class was over, I went downtown. They recommended a 5-star restaurant. I go to that restaurant. I ordered my food. I didn't pay attention to what the prices were. I just got what I wanted. And just believe it or not, everything that I ordered was on special. So I walked out of a 5-star restaurant and I spent less than $20. Okay. Prior to going to the restaurant, on the way downtown, I noticed that Sade and John Legend were going to be in concert. Now, mind you, I'm from Knoxville. They came to Nashville. They came to Atlanta. They did not come to Knoxville. So I didn't get to go to the show, but it was divine order because I get there, and here we are, John Legend and Sade. I got a front row seat. So I'm on my way to the show, and I call my mom crying. Do not call your mom crying when you're on the road. That is... Woo! She was not happy with me. But when she realized I was okay, I said, Mama, I feel it. And she said, what? I said, my cup runneth over. I've never really truly felt that. I've heard it a million times, but never really felt my cup runneth over, but it did. So I go, she said, just enjoy it, have a great time. I go to the show, I'm talking to everybody around me because that's what I do. John Legend gets to a point in the show and he says, I need somebody to slow dance with. And so, I know, girls is like, oh, yes. So luckily I had chatted it up with the people around me and they knew it was my birthday, so they all point to me and I end up on stage with John Legend. So I'm dancing. And when the song is over, he says, what's your name? Now, as I get more and more excited, the Tennessee comes out, right? So he hands him the microphone and I said, I'm Keisha from Tennessee. And that's what it was, just laughter. And so he pulls the microphone back, and I said, and it's my birthday. And he said, y'all, we didn't plan this, but it's her birthday. And so this entire auditorium, the size of the Frank Irwin Center, sings happy birthday to me, right? 4 days later, my boss calls and says, they're closing the Knoxville office. You have 1 week to decide if you're going to be moved to Austin, Texas, or you'll be unemployed by the end of the year. I said, Austin, what? I'd never been here. I'd been all over Texas. I'd never been to Austin, but I had to make that decision on the fly, right? Clearly, I made the right decision, right? But that was the first time that I really invested in myself, that I knew that and this is so true. This is the scripture that follows me everywhere. When I went into my church home to tell them that I was moving, when I walked in, if you go to small, old school Baptist churches in the vestibule, do y'all know the vestibule? Okay. That's the little opening, the foyer. It's the vestibule. So, I'm standing there, and on the bulletin board, it says, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and plans not to harm you, right? And so that's what I took with me, and I took that leap of faith, and I came out to Austin, Texas 8 years ago, and it has been the best experience I could have ever had. It's the best investment that I ever made in myself. I did it. I didn't have to go back home. I've had to call home a couple of times. But I'm still here, and I'm very excited about it. So let's talk about how we can invest in ourselves, right? And there's 3 stages the way I look at it, right? You have your mental and your spiritual health that you invest in. You have your physical health, and then you have your financial health. Now, Ben, you have no idea, but when I met with you, so when I got nominated, I met with Ben, and we kind of talked about, this opportunity and what I would be able to do. But what he didn't know is that I was literally at one of my lowest points. And this was a couple of weeks ago, but I had been having some medical problems, and I went to the doctor, and I was literally waiting on my test results when we were sitting and having a conversation. I had to do a biopsy. I had to do an ultrasound. I had to do all of these things, right? And what I had not been doing is investing in myself. I was not taking care of my physical health. And because I didn't take care of my physical health, it impacted my mental health and my spiritual health. And then them deductibles, baby, that knocked out my financial health, okay? So this all overlaps to each other. If you don't take care of yourself, then your mind's not going to be right? And it's going to impact your budget, right? And then also if you're just, and I think we all do this. Anybody ever been guilty of retail therapy? I've seen some cute shoes and stuff in here, so I'm assuming some of y'all went last night. But, you get caught up in these different things, and when your money is not right, your mind's not right. Right? So all of these things start to overlap. If you want a balanced life, you got to make sure that you're investing yourself in these 3 areas, making sure that you're taking care of your physical health, making sure that your spiritual health and your mental health is on point, and then also making sure that you're making great, sound financial decisions. Make sense? I'm an interactive person. I don't like just stand up here and talk. Y'all got to talk back to me. See how that y'all comes out? I tell you when I get excited. So what do you need to know? So these are just a few things that I want to put out. There's tons of things I could have talked about when it comes to money and investing, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows these things. 1, Social Security ain't enough, okay? Anybody depending on Social Security to get you through to the end of your days? I hope not, right? But I guarantee you, even if Social Security, if you're not going to be one of the people that averaged out to make less than $18,000 a year last year in Social Security, you may not be in that situation, but you know somebody that does. You love somebody that does. You care about somebody that does. So even though it's not your reality, it's the reality of somebody that you're close to. And it's something that you need to hold into account, because as you're planning for your financial future, there's going to be somebody that you know, love, and care about that's going to call you and need your help that can derail whatever plan that you had. Right? So go ahead and start thinking about that now. Those elderly people in your family, people that may be disabled, those are people that are going to need your support. Don't forget about them, because when it comes time, it's going to throw you completely off track, right? And if any, I see some really head shaking, so some of you have been through that before. Women, hey ladies, hey. You see how they naturally was like, hey. I love it. Women, we have to save more. Why do we have to save more? Not because we spend more. It's because we live longer. Exactly. We live longer. So that's why we need to save more money. We also have to take into account the wealth gap. Right? Because the wealth gap is what it is. Not only do we have to save more, but it's going to make it even harder to save what we need, because we're not making as much as we should be in a lot of areas, right? So that's something that you want to consider when you're thinking about that investment and that retirement plan. The next thing is Medicare does not cover long-term care. So I'm a storyteller. I use my personal experiences in my life to share that with other people. Both of my grandparents, I lost them after I moved here. And so one thing you realize is that when you have somebody that's elderly, even though they did all the right things, right? Both my grandparents worked great jobs. They bought a home. They bought a car. They put my mom through college. They raised 2 fabulous sons. They did all the things that they were supposed to do. But when my grandfather got sick first, there was no assistance for him to cover a nurse to come in as much as we needed, or to put him into a nursing home. The only way to do that was if we would give up his check, his pension check and his Social Security check to cover those costs, right? But then that would leave my grandmother in a bind where she was not going to be able to take care of herself and the household, right? So luckily my family is close enough to them to where we could come around and we could take care of them ourselves. And so both my grandfather and my grandmother transitioned at home, and it was the family that came together and took care of them. So as you think about getting older, that just went down, right? I know, my bad. I'm gonna bring you back up, I promise. But as you get older, you have to start thinking about those things. If you have elderly people in your family, start thinking about their assets. Start thinking about whose names they're in, because as they decide whether or not they're going to get the assistance that they need and deserve and earned, right, they're also going to take into account any assets that they may have, and they will attach to that. So if they own a home, if they have money in the bank, those type of things, they will take those assets first before you would actually be able to get any kind of assistance. So start planning, start having those tough conversations with those elderly people in your family. And then also thinking about for yourself, if something happened to you, who would take care of you? Where do you want to be? And who's going to pay for that, right? All right, we're coming back up because that was down, right? We're coming back up. Okay. Are we? I don't know. Oh, no, millennials. My bad. Woo. Woo. Millennials need to save $2 million. I know, right? Less likely to have a pension. When my parents were working, 80% of people offered a pension. 80% of jobs offered a pension. Now it's the reverse. Only 20% of jobs offer a pension. I know, right? So you got to create your own pension. And then also Social Security is questionable. We've already kind of talked about that. And then last but not least, inflation. Have y'all got milk lately? Like, it's ridiculous. The cost of living is constantly going up, right? So for those millennials, the goal right now is to raise $2 million by the time that you're ready to retire in order to live the type of lifestyle that you're currently living, right? So all that avocado toast and stuff that you just got to have, just saying, it might be 2.5 depending on how many brunches you go to on a regular basis. So it's a lot of information, right? But one thing that I would stress, I worked in the financial services industry for 5 years. What I learned about that is that I love this part of it. Give me a microphone. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love motivating people to live their best life. I don't necessarily like the product side, okay? So what I would recommend to you, though, is hire an advisor, right? Hire an advisor. I'm not going to say this company versus that company. I'm going to say you get somebody that you actually like and that you trust, that you get good vibes from, positive vibes only, right? You also need somebody to check you, right? Because my friends will know when I was over there and we were working on accounts, they know I stalk Facebook. If you're on a budget and you told me you were going to save money, you better not be in them outlets. Baby. I will be in your inbox. Excuse me, boo. That wasn't part of the plan, okay? So you need somebody that can hold you accountable, right? So as you start to think of who you want to work with, those are the things that you want them to do for you, right? Because they're going to be working for you. So I do encourage you to get a professional to kind of help you start planning. So when it comes to investing in self, the last thing I want to talk about is just plan, prioritize spending when it comes to your money. Now, I love PowerPoints because people are like, what do those pictures mean? You don't know, you got to listen to me. My mom was like, I did this trial with my mom, and she was like, I don't get the pictures. I was like, that's the point. So the first picture of this is tea, because, again, this is no coffee. I literally wake up like this, right? But I used to drink a lot of coffee. My friends are like, I used to drink a lot of coffee. So when you're working and you're collaborating, you're going to different places, you do a lot of coffee meetings, right? And so I would go to different coffee meetings, and I like the white chocolate mocha or like a chai latte with lavender. And I'm spending $5 or $6, and then I may go to 2 or 3 places. So now that's $15 a day that I'm spending on coffee, right? And so as I really started to look at my budget and where I was spending my money, I realized I got to fix that, right? And I'm wired. So I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? So what I did is I switched to tea, right? It made such a difference. So instead of spending $5 or $6 on one drink, I could spend $2, let me teach you this trick, $2.37. You know where you spend $2.37 to get some tea? Panera Bread. $2.37. They got 6 different kinds of tea. I'm just saying, when I go to Panera Bread, I'm there all day. I try all 6 teas. I get my $2.37 worth. Okay. All right. So that was a budgetary change that I identified that was an easy fix, that was actually better for me to do the tea than it was for all the coffees and stuff that I was having. I saved money. And I got Panera Bread stock. No, I'm just playing. The next thing is the biggest way to really control your budget is on what you spend your money on, right? Which the biggest thing that we spend our money on without even paying attention to is food. Right? You can make or break your budget on food. So one of the things that my women's group, Ladies in Alignment, that we've done is that we will actually do group meal prep workshops. So we'll rent out a kitchen. We'll get 15 women in the kitchen together. Woo! You talking about fun. All right. But we get 15 women in the kitchen together, and we all prepare our meals together for the week, and we walk out with 15 different meals. Now, the meaning behind that, or the purpose behind that, is to teach people how to layer ingredients so that you're eating the same things, but it's a different format, so you don't feel like you're eating the same thing over and over, right? And then also, you'll be able to switch out recipes. So if two to three people get together and meal prep together, then you're not going to eat that same pot of spaghetti that your mama made for you that you had to eat all week long. Nobody else had to do that? Okay. But if I make something, you make something, and she makes something, and we swap out, now I'm eating different things every day, and I'm not going to get bored with my menu. So it's a great way to save money is by meal prepping with people. And then last but not least, this is my crew from Boss Babes ATX. I was on the committee. Yes, I love Boss Babes, right? And so one thing that I will say, as you start to make decisions where you're going to change the way that you spend your money, if maybe you're trying to get out of debt, if you're saving for a house or whatever the case may be, when you're doing that, you have to have a conversation with your friends. If you don't have the conversation with your friends, then what happens is they're going to keep calling you and asking you to go to brunch in their outlets, and Keisha's going to keep saying, where are you at? No, I'm just teasing. But no, you need to have that conversation. You don't want them to feel like you're isolating from the group or that you're upset with them or anything like that. You just want to tell them, hey, I'm getting in this house this year. That's the plan. Or I'm paying off these student loans. I'm tired of them following me. And I just wanted you to know that I'm not going to be out as much. I'm not going to be doing as many things. I would rather go to Europe than go to 6th Street. So I'm going to be in the house saving, right? And that's why I can't go out. So have that conversation. And then the powerful phrase I'm going to teach you that you want to keep and live with forever. You know when people ask you to go out and you really just don't want to spend that money, but you don't want to tell them I can't afford it? Your new phrase is, it's not in the budget, right? Saying I can't afford it hurts. Saying it's not in the budget means, what you mean by budget? Oh, you don't know the queen of budgeting? Yes, Instagram, queen of budgeting. Thank you. Just send them on my way. I got you covered and smothered, right? Okay. So that's how I want you to invest in yourself. So I'm going to transition just a little bit to investing in community. So again, I said when you invest in community, it's not necessarily the people that look like you, it's everybody, right? So I want you to be strategic in who you actually invest your time with. Me specifically, I love Youth Rise Texas. We work with teens that have a parent that's been incarcerated or deported. I have learned so much from these young teens and the things that they go through. I've never been in that situation, but I realized that there was a need for support, and that's where I went, right? So be realistic and think about those things. Now, I do want to share something with you as far as growing community and diversity inclusion, because Austin is all about diversity, but they don't necessarily understand what inclusion means, right? And so, actually, my friend, she's here. She didn't know I was going to talk about her, but she got a request for a diversity ticket. She was running a women's group. It was called Black Women Build, and she got a request for a diversity ticket. And when the diversity ticket meant that she wanted us to fill out a form to explain why we deserve the ticket, and she only had 3 of them for a person of color or LGBTQ. And it was only 3 people that were going to be in the room that were different. But yeah, no, that's not the way you bring in diversity, right? That's not how you build community. You know, in order to build community, you have a program where you have people that look different than each other that are on the panel, that are part of the programming, that you're going to be able to hear their voice and get messages and perspectives from different people. So make sure that you think of that as you're investing in community and working with people. Thank you. I like you. I love your scarf too. And then lastly, support local ATX, and that gets into my last point, which is invest in entrepreneurship. Anybody Netflix and chill? I mean, just watch Netflix? Is my mama gonna see this? So new on Netflix, there's a new series. It's called She Did That. And it's all about Black women entrepreneurs. And in that, you'll learn, if you haven't watched it yet, I do encourage you to do so, that there are approximately 1.9 million Black women-owned firms that employ over 376,000 people and generate $51.4 billion in total revenue, right? It is a driving force. The problem with that is that nobody really wants to invest in them, including the banks. There's a young lady here. She's fabulous. She owns her own business. I'm not going to shout her out because I don't want to put her business in the street. I'm going to tell her business. I'm just going to put her name with it. Anywho, but she is a wife. She owns a home. She owns 2 vehicles. She has assets. She was working as a CFO for a major corporation, and she applied for a business loan, and nobody would approve her. It makes no sense. Her credit score was 800. Makes no sense. And so she struggled and struggled and struggled to finally give for somebody to give her a chance, right? So what I say is, you know, entrepreneurship, it's a way of being creative. It's a way for us to make our livelihood. But I encourage us to find a way that we can invest in each other, that we can support each other, because that's the only way that we're going to move forward in life, right? So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. How many of you believe in supporting local? Yes. How many of you actively seek to support women-owned businesses? Awesome. How many of you intentionally shop with a Black-owned business? Okay, I just want to leave you with that. But I want you to be realistic. Like Austin, I've found that everybody loves supporting local Austin. Some people will, encourage, like, go to the Boss Babes and different organizations, and they'll support women-owned businesses. But when it comes to Black and brown-owned businesses, it's not something that people intentionally do. So as you're looking at how you invest your dollar and how you invest your time, I encourage you, again, to invest in people that don't necessarily look like you. We all deserve to be supported, okay? What is the most valuable thing that you could ever invest? Anybody? Because I saw there was a question on your name badge. What was the smallest investment you ever made? But what is the most valuable thing that you can invest? You guys are good. The most valuable thing that you can invest in your time. So whether you have the money or the financial resources to support other creatives in the industry, I encourage you to invest your time. A like, a share, a referral, a word of encouragement, a compliment. Invest your time and your energy and your positive vibes in entrepreneurship and the people that you come in contact with in your community, okay? I love this picture because this is just me, right? But how will you invest your time to change the world, right? That's the most valuable thing that you have to invest is your time, and how are you going to use that to make a change in the world today? Thank you.
I was at that Johnny John Legend concert.
In Kansas City? Are you for real? That is so cool. You sang happy birthday to me?
I think I did, yeah.